on screen. The domain. So we just before I started recording, we were talking about how do you know what's what? Well, the domain is always going to be left or right. And those are the x values. So this is the tricky part, and it just takes a little bit of practice. If I want to know my lower domain and my upper domain, my x values, my lower boundary and my upper boundary, the hard part is you got to follow the curve. But when you're doing the domain, you got to think in terms of x. So when I look at the arrow, it looks like it's going up. Well, going up to where? To positive infinity. But x's are left to right. So even though it looks like it's going up, I have to keep thinking to myself, well, what's it doing in the left direction? Well, it's continuing to go to the left. So then that means that my lower boundary is negative infinity, right? Because the further I go to the left, the closer I get to negative infinity. The further I go to the right, the closer I get to positive infinity. And there's no boundaries. The arrows imply when I go to the right, it's really easy to see that this line is going to the right. But when I go to the left, you might think, oh, it's going up. Well, why would that make a difference? Well, you'll see when we do the range. So this is the inequality notation. So that notation is I just put the brace, put x such that, just a straight line up and down, and then you put in your inequality values. And then for interval notation, am I including negative infinity? No, no equal sign. Am I including positive infinity? I can't. It's not a number. It's a concept. So I have to do parentheses, negative infinity to positive infinity, and that's it for the domain. Now for the range, this is the tough part because going up means I'm going to positive infinity. Going down means I'm going to negative infinity. Okay. So for the range, my lower boundary, what does that look like it's doing? Do you think that's going to go down any further?
Yeah.
How far down? You think this graph is going to continue to go down like this?
No, it's going to stop at 0.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to stop at 0. It looks like this thing is just going to... It looks like it's just going to do this, right? Well, it is going to go to 0.
Interpretation.
It is going to go to 0. Okay. Now, is it ever going to equal 0? No. This is probably what we call a rational expression. Could be. So if it's a rational expression, it's probably just going to go to 0. So that's my range. And then now if I go up, how high up does it go?
Infinity.
To positive infinity. So now that I have that as my range, whoops, got a little sloppy there. Then my interval notation will just be y is an element such that it lives between 0 and positive infinity. That's not a good brace.
Uh-oh.
That's better. And then I'm just going to go from 0 to infinity. Let me check that in my book. Yep, that's right. Any questions on that one?